All right, so I wanted to give my testimony on just the trip that I just came off of. The fact is, like, the conference was amazing, and I just pray that it gives, um, not the conference, this testimony actually gives some encouragement. I took my glasses off because you could literally see um, mm, the ring light through my glasses. So that was kind of annoying. So, like, can I see really good right now? Optional. It depends on who's asking. But I have my notes, and I'm gonna do my best to read off of there. But yeah, the ring light and everything, it wasn't working. So I found out about the Millions Conference, which Millions Conference is a entrepreneurial conference for businesses, but its foundation is building millionaires through God's word and God being the foundation. So this was my first time hearing about it. Apparently, they did one a few years ago in 2020. I didn't even know anything about Tiffany Montgomery back then, but yeah, so I found out she was doing it again, and the last one was like years ago, and I was just like, I really want to be there. And at that time, I think I heard about it around December, maybe, that she was doing it or whatever, and I already knew that I was pregnant, but I wasn't that far along in my pregnancy, so I had a lot more of, I want to say, oh, well, I didn't really have a huge bump. I didn't have a lot of hindrances or anything, so my mind wasn't thinking about um, April and how far along I would be by then or anything like that. I just knew that I had to get there. For whatever reason, I just knew that I needed to be there. Like, it was like this push that God just telling me, like, I really needed to be there. And so I was like, okay, God, well, if you're pushing me to be there, I don't know why you have me pushing there, being the circumstances are the circumstances, and just life being the way it is right now. Like, you want me to be in Houston, Texas. Like, it was just crazy to me for me to even be there. And at that time, in January, I had just started a new job, and like, I'm just now getting back into working. So that was already a big leap in and of itself, and that's another testimony for another time. But I had just started this new job, and I'm like, okay, and I'm full time, so I'm like, okay, I gotta get leave for that. Then I'm thinking, who's gonna watch the kids for 3 or 4 days? Because everybody works, and I don't just trust my kids with anybody. So I was like, okay, God, all that stuff. So it was literally like me having these questions in my mind, like, how is this gonna do it? Like, it just didn't make sense to me. But whatever. So I remember that my birthday came around, and that's a whole different thing in and of itself. And so I was like, all right, God, like, registration is open. It's been open. She said the tickets are selling out fast. They have a VIP section. They have a general admission. And, the way things are looking, general admission is my affordability. And that's another thing. Like, we need to stop speaking over our finances and cursing our finances, because I don't care what it looks like in the bank. Like, you have what you say. Words have power. If you have no money in the bank, like, yes, that is a fact in the natural. However, you're just in between blessings. Like, that could change in 0 to 0.5 seconds. You never know. Someone can come and walk in and put money in your hand. You never know. So don't ever say that I'm broke. Don't ever say that I can't. Don't ever say I don't have. Like, you're cursing your finances. Say, oh, I'm doing exceedingly abundantly in every area of my life, even in my finances. I'm in between blessings. I have a pending amount coming into my account. Like, I have millions coming into my account. And it's not just money, but just know that goodness and mercy follow me all the days of my life. God has all the money. So at the end of the day, like, I ain't broke. Okay? So anyway, but my mindset back then isn't where it is now. So anyway, I remember she was saying, like, you guys listen, like, tomorrow I'm closing, or, we're about sold out, whatever. And I was like, okay, God, like, I've been fasting and praying on this trip. Like, you're going to have to make some shake. Like, I need something to whatever. I think it was the next day, my pay, because actually I had just started, the issue was I had just started my job in January 25th. And it was a question or not, the way the pay periods were going, if I would get my first paycheck at the end of February, and February is a short month, or like the first week of March. And registration ended, I believe, in February or something like that. But like by the time they were saying I was going to get my paycheck, I would have missed the deadline. All the tickets would have been sold out, and I didn't have the money, and I was in between, blessings. So I was like, how am I going to be able to afford this ticket? And I'm not even knowing when I'm going to get paid until like, I'm in January 25th, until like March. So I was like really like upset about that or whatever. And it was just kind of like, I was blown. Like when I get upset, I'll just be quiet, and I'm just like, wow, like you're blowing me. But I remember I just prayed, and I was like, Lord, I'm like, you have to make some shake. Like, if you want me to be there, and you put this desire in my heart, like, you gonna have to work that out. Like, I don't know where it's gonna come from or whatever. And I remember um, it was a little past, like, in the 20s of February or something like that, because I knew my birthday came. I knew, just certain dates had already came, so I was just like, whatever. And then, like, I remember God saying, like, to check my bank account, and I'm like, oh, you're trying to be funny. And I was just like, okay, I checked my bank account, and my first paycheck came, right? So I was like, oh, okay. So the first thing I did was I brought my ticket, right? The next day, she had sent out an email saying that it was sold out. And I was like, oh, thank you, God. And so I was like, all right, got my ticket. I was like, God, like, I'm believing you to provide my plane ticket, my hotel fare, and everything I need associated with the trip. Like, I don't want to just have enough. I want to have more than enough, you know? And so here I am thinking, like, oh man, like, let me see plane tickets, like, if I can take my kids with me, and, possibly take my mother with me, just so I know that everybody's there and whatever, all that stuff. So I started looking up plane prices. Mind you, I have not traveled on a plane or traveled anywhere since I first came back to the States when my dad retired. And that was coming from Japan. So when I came back from Japan to the States, I was going into my junior year of high school. I'm 30 now. So then I'm like, plane tickets for everybody. Because I'm thinking I'm balling. And I'm like, that's a lot. That's a lot for everybody to come. And I'm like, can we go on a train? Like, because I'm thinking I need to fly. Because my thing is, I don't like sitting in long periods of the car. As far as a train, like I was thinking train tickets, like a bus, and trying to get all my kids there, and just, because it's not just trying to get bodies there. It's trying to get bodies and mindsets there. If you know, you know. I hope this is recording. Yeah, it's recording. So I was like, Lord, I just need you to be there or whatever. And I mean, to be honest, God didn't say anything. So I was like, all right. And then I was like coming to the conclusion, like, this might just be a solo trip, because I can only, again, my words, I was like, oh, I can only afford for me to get there or something. So I'm like, all right, I just need to just start saving checks and saving money. Well, that didn't work out, because literally every check I got had to go to eating out, or it had to go to something dealing with the kids, or it had to go to an unexpected bill, or it had to go something towards my car. And so, like, with the weather changing, like, the kids had growth spurts, I had to get them some clothes. with me getting more pregnant and being the type of job that I'm working at, I have to dress professional, or, just, work office like attire, to where I have to make sure that, like, as I'm busting out, I'm not busting out. And so I'm like, all right, everything is expensive. Then, like, I have to eat takeout because by the job, I work a 7 to 5 job every rotating week, 8 to 5 job. So it's like, and then picking the kids up from daycare and stuff, and then getting them together. And like, there's not enough time for me. I'm not gonna say there wasn't enough time. My home life situation did not allow me to be able to cook dinners regularly, or cook dinners, because either, the kitchen was preoccupied, or the fact was that I just, that something else was going on. Like, I would get one day off during the week, and then during the weekends I would have all the kids. And again, with the home life situation there, that with the kids being home, it would take up too much time for me to do anything else, because there was not proper placing for them while they're home. If that makes sense, that makes sense. Can't really go into it right now. A different testimony for a different time. So I'm like, all right. I'm like, Lord, I'm like, I need to have financed this trip. You know that I need money, and you got all the money. And these checks that I'm getting, I'm thankful. I'm really thankful. But it's like I can't even keep money in my account. And I'm like, we have to eat. I'm not able to cook. Then, with the situation on top of other situation, on top of other situation, on top of other situations, like, it's real ghetto. So I'm like, I don't know what you're gonna do. So I want to say in March, I was like, all right, I'm a solo trip. And then I'm like, wow, I was like, what if I invite somebody, because there were people who could still get tickets or something like that. No. February, before I even bought my ticket, I think I had asked my dad to go. Yeah, I asked my dad to go because he's an entrepreneur himself. And he said that he said he was going to look into it, or, think about it. Then he said he couldn't go because the way he had some other business opportunities lined up and doctor's appointments, he wouldn't be able to go. But he wanted to partner with me to assist with paying for the trip. So I was like, all right, cool. So, but I didn't get that confirmation until after I bought my ticket. And then I found out it was sold out. And, then I was like, all right, God, like, how are we going to do this? And then my dad told me that he wouldn't be able to go, or like, for sure. And then that he was going to partner with me. And then he came down sometime in March, and he was like, it was after the boy's birthday, I think, which was March 20 something. And then, we're sitting there talking, and he was like, well, do you have your plane tickets and stuff ready, or where you want to go, or whatever? And I was like, yeah, I can get that package together for you so we can, like, come up with a plan and all that stuff. And then it's like, he was like, well, I just feel, this uneasiness about you traveling by yourself and traveling alone, and, they're snatching women and, all this stuff. And I'm just like, so you not gonna pay for it or not? And he was just like, I don't know, I just feel uneasy about it or whatever. And I'm just like, well, I go back in prayer and I'm like, Lord, I'm like, well, why is he feeling uneasy about it if you're telling me to go? Because I mean, I don't feel uneasy, and it's like, I sought you for it, and I know you want me to be there. So I was like, where is this uneasiness? I said, is it uneasiness or is it fear? And, like, what is going on? And then someone else came up to me and told me it was like, yeah, like randomly. And it wasn't even about like the trip or something. They were like, yeah, you know, they're snatching women and all that stuff. And I was like, oh, I was like, this is a spirit. Because anytime you have multiple people saying the same thing and it's negative and it's like discouraging or anything like that, that is demonic. That is a spirit of fear trying to come upon your life. And I was like, oh, so it's fear. And I was like, because I didn't have no fear. Like I had, like, I don't know why I did that, but I had, you know, peace about it. I was just trying to figure out, like, I like to plan. I like to know the beginning to the end of the thing. Like, I like to be able to see it and I'd be like, all right, I can rock with that. You know what I mean? So the step-by-step thing, I don't really like. I don't like it. So I was just like, all right, God, like you, I don't know. So then I was like, okay, so he didn't say nothing about it. He wound up leaving. And I was so discouraged again because I was like, you know, if my dad's not comfortable as far as like my safety or anything, like he's not going to do anything. Like, I don't know, you know, whatever. So it's like, here I am back at square one. And so I'm like, people, like the Airbnb is getting higher. The prices of the hotels getting higher. The flights getting higher. And I'm just like, oh, you know, I need to figure out what we're doing. Because even by faith, I even put my days in at work. And I was like, yeah, I'm not going to be here because I can't be here. So whatever, right? Way in advance. And so March starts to end, April begins. And I'm just like, okay, whatever. So then I want to say, so then I was just like, all right, like, you know, my dad's not going to help me. It's fine. I didn't feel any type of way about it. If he's uncomfortable, I'm not going to force him to be on his conscience. I'm like, okay, God's just not going to use him, and that's okay. And so I'm like, all right, I got to pay for it myself. So as I'm starting to try to, because in March, I think I got paid 3 times the way the payments were going. So I was just like, all right, it was like 3 times, but it wasn't 3 times. It was just the way the days fall, because it's not every 2 weeks. It's only like certain days. It's weird. It's stupid. But like, all right, I was like, okay, I'm going to have to just save my money. And I'm like punching the numbers, and I was like, all right, this is going to work. And so I remember all of a sudden when I'm punching my numbers and seeing how I can do it financially with myself, my kids get sick. And it's not just like, it starts off like a little, no. Mackenzie gets sick or something, to where she is, the daycare is complaining because, now with COVID or whatever, everybody thinks anybody with a cough is COVID. And so she starts having this really like nasty cough. And I was like, you guys, like, it's not COVID. I was like, I guess she's just getting into allergies. The pollen is really, it was like this mucusy cough. And like, she was just coughing or whatever. And I'm like, taking her, I have to scheduling doctor appointments and stuff like that in 2023 in this area. I don't know if it's everywhere, is ghetto in and of itself. Like, it's just a whole thing, and people don't want to answer the phone, and it's just like, it's crazy, because it's like I'm trying to make doctor's appointments on my lunch because I'm working, every day. And then when I'm on my lunch, the pediatrician is on their lunch, and then no one's returning my calls. And then when you're trying to get an appointment, it's already booked up because people are been making appointments like 3 to 6 months in advance. And so it was just this whole big thing. So I finally got her in there. We got her on allergy medicine, 2 types, whatever. I had the pediatrician write a note saying that she doesn't have COVID, that her cough or whatever, because the daycare was almost acting like we were co-parenting, and we are not. Like, I hear your concerns. She's fine. And it was just over dramatic. Like, it was literally like demonic warfare, whatever, right? So her cough and stuff gets straightened out. Then I remember, like, it was a couple days, then the boy's eyes started to crust over. And then everybody was sick. Like all three of the kids were like really sick. And I'm like, okay, there was no note from the daycare about anything coming on, like going on, or as far as like with any sickness, because they'll usually put something out or whatever. And I'm like, is this just mucus trying to excrete from their eyes or whatever? Like this was all new to me, because again, me being a stay-at-home mom for almost like 4 to 5 years, we never really dealt with sickness because the kids were always in the house. They went out and did stuff, but they weren't really around a lot of kids. So like if we dealt with anything, it was nothing that natural remedy cough medicine or Tylenol could fix. So this was all new. So all three of the kids wind up getting really sick, and it wind up being all three of them had they had one ear infection. No, first, I took them to the doctor. It was just like Bubba was feeling some type of way, but it was just Mackenzie and Sebastian. They had ear infections, right? And like Elijah just had like a cough, but they didn't know if it was allergy. They just told me to start putting him on the regimen that Kenzie's is. Then the next week, all three, and mind you, Mackenzie and Sebastian had antibiotics that they completed, right? And that week, the next week's, all three of the kids have double ear infections. 2 of the kids have pink eye, and Kenzie had some type of respiratory type of virus or something like that, to where it wasn't just the ear infection. She didn't get pink eye. No, she did get pink eye, but with the antibiotics and stuff, that was being taken care of. And her breathing was a concern. Then Elijah, his breathing was concerned. So this is going on in like the end of March, beginning into April, right before I'm like going the trip. And like, being that I am a praying woman, being that I understand God's rules, his principles, even though, no, like, I see a lot of things in the spirit, okay? So I knew that it was demonic warfare. And I know that anytime we are sick, anytime we have any type of ailment in our body, in our bloodstream, that is a spirit of infirmity. So I'm like, okay, why is the spirit of infirmity hitting my kids so hard? And like, I know that it's coming against my kids hard to try to deter me, but it's like, Lord, like, I'm trusting you to heal them. And it just was like prolonging, because it was like one thing after next. And then I remember that we had got sick, to back up, before the kids even had sick, I had a prayer meeting with my family, and we prayed concerning our like bloodline and our family like that. And like, I knew that there would be some backlash from it and some warfare, but I didn't expect it would hit like this. Like, I'm thinking like it's gonna come after me, but it went after the kids. So I was like, all right. So then we're on all this medication, like literally we're on breathing treatments, we're on all this type of medication. And Kenzie was had the worst of it. So, cause she just had this cough that would not go away. And it wasn't like any type of like dry cough or whatever. Like, I can't even explain the cough. It would not go away. And so like, and the kids were like throwing up, and then it was the bowels from like, just with all the antibiotics and the steroids, just the loose stools, and having to clean that. And it's like, the way things are right now as far as living conditions, like, it is harder because we're working in a smaller space. It is harder because we are trying to be considerate of everybody else that lives in the home. So I'm just like, and the thing is, at that time, I was so focused on the kids that I didn't even know that I was sick. So I had a double ear infection as well that turned into a sore throat. I lost my voice, that turned into other things that was hindering my body. So then it took a long time for me to even get, because I don't have, like, I was like, okay, well, I can go to patient first. But it's like, I didn't have the time to go to patient first because I was so busy taking the kids to their doctor's appointments. Like, I want to tell you, we went to the hospital because there's no point going to emergency. We went to their pediatrician maybe 5 or 6 times within a week, within a 2-week span. I want to say that because they were not getting better. And I just start getting really like quiet because when I get quiet, I'm going into warfare and I'm standing on my faith. So this all ties in together with me going to the conference and the trip. Because I was like, the devil's really going to have my kids. And I remember Kenzie got so bad one night and I heard this voice and it was like, we're going to take her. We're going to take her out. And I was like, no. I was like, you're not going to have my baby. You're not going to have my baby. I was like, no weapon formed against her shall. I was like, you're not going to kill my baby. I said, there will be no premature death unto my children. I will not be burying my children over no strange disease or anything like that. I said, so no. Because I started to get mad. Because I'm like, anytime you come to my baby, no. So I remember I'm praying. And like my mom, she was getting nervous because she was just like, they weren't getting better. And I said, I don't care what it looks like. I said, my kids have divine health. I just kept saying they'll have divine health. I said, the only time we'll be in the hospital will be for a wellness check. I said, the only medicine that they will take, not even for allergies, will be for a vitamin or a probiotic. I said, my kids are walking in divine health. I was like, I don't care what I see right now. I declare divine health on them. I said, this is not unto death. I said, I'm just preaching whatever, and I'm just like declaring, like, I won't let nobody say anything else to me. So then, of course, Jesus comes through. My kids all are healed. And Mackenzie starts breathing better. Elijah starts breathing better. Everybody is just like getting their strength back. And then the thing is, what happened to Kenzie wasn't eating. So that was a thing too, because Kenzie is tall, but she's like thin. She's of good weight and she's like thin, but she has a very athletic, like physique, I guess. That's her build, So I was just like, okay, she wasn't whatever, but now she's eating, she's healthy. So I'm like, Lord, praise Jesus, like, thank you, Lord. I was just so happy. So I remember that Friday, and I know I'm bouncing around, the dates are everywhere, I'm sorry, but you'll get it. So I remember a Friday I had to leave because I worked, that week was a 7:45 to 5 week, and I had to wind up leaving at 12 because I'm at my terminal and I'm like, oh, and I did going to my doctor because the pediatrician of the kids was more like, she was treating them and getting them better and seeing them getting better or whatever, and it was a breakthrough for them, but she was like, I'm really concerned about you. She was like, because you look horrible, like, you need to go to the doctor, patient first, whatever. And I was like, okay, I'm going. Like, so I went to my the baby doctor, because when you're at patient first, they're scared to touch you without consulting your OB, whatever. So I went to him, I'm telling him everything I need. He puts all this medication in, and he forgot one part of the medication. I had to call him or whatever. So Friday, it's like, I'm good. So then I'm at work on Friday, and I don't know, I want to say, like, I'm feeling good. I'm glad I had my medicine, and I'm feeling better. I wasn't completely restored because I just got, but I was thankful something was working. And I remember, like, I was at the window and I could not breathe. And it wasn't like the baby was on position or anything. It was like, I used to be, like, God delivered me from asthma, I want to say almost 8 years ago. But as a child, I used to have bad asthma attacks. And like, it was like I couldn't catch my breath and I couldn't breathe. And I was at work, and like, my work is a customer service job, and I couldn't breathe. And I would say, I'm not going to freak out. I'm not going to freak out. And it was like that's all I could do. I was like, I'm not going to freak out. So I left work at 12. because I was like, I'm just a body here. They will replace me. If I drop dead, no one's gonna care. Like, no. I said I'm going. I left, and I went to patient first, and they could see that my lungs were restricted for whatever reason or whatever. They gave me an inhaler. I was good. So then I remember calling in and saying, and I was gonna be off that Saturday. Because to be honest, like all my days off or even on the weekends, I didn't have a day off because I was waking up at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, all throughout the night, in the morning, trying to take care of these kids, of my kids, not these kids, my kids. So even on my days off, it wasn't a day off because they couldn't go to daycare when it was during the week. So they were still with me. We was in the thick of it. We was in the thick of it. So I say that to say, Saturday I asked if I can come in and work that shift, even though it's my scheduled day off, because mind you, I'm still trying to save money for my trip. And during this time, like, oh, I'm supposed to be looking at my notes so I don't get all that. Yeah, so because of the kids were sick, I wound up having to spend all this extra money because I couldn't physically able to get them the food and stuff, like to make it ahead of time or to cook, to stand on the kitchen, because like you had the vomiting, you had the, it was just so, like I ordered food just for them to even get down, right? So I'm spending money on food, I'm spending money on medicine, I'm spending money on Tylenol, like we was going through Tylenol like crazy. I'm spending money on trying to break their fever, because like their fevers were like skyrocket, like they were like burning, and then they had the chills, and it was just all this stuff. But when I tell you, they ran them for the flu, they ran them for COVID, they ran them for every test, and it came back negative. I was just like, devil, I rebuke you. So I'm like spending all this money, right? Then like when they're able to go to daycare, the weather's changing, and they're going through growth spurts, so I'm like I have to give them some like new clothes or something, you know, I gotta do a haul and all this stuff. So the money is being spent, the money is gone, everything that was saving, gone, all right? So, and then I have to eat lunch every day, then the food, it was expensive, the money was just gone, right? So it was just depleting. And then too, in the midst of that, before that, I remember I got into it with a family member. And so that came with excommunication from other family members. So I'm dealing with that, and I'm dealing with the kids. I'm dealing, like, it was just coming from all sides. And like, all I could do was just pray and be quiet. Because I can't buck on nobody. I can't go off on nobody. God won't let me. That's not the type of anointing that he's giving me. That's the Brooke anointing that she want to do, but I can't. Whatever. So I just asked Lord, I'm like, where is my accountability in it? Or where am I supposed to do? So that's something else. Anyway, yeah, so then I come back to work. I worked that Saturday. Then I was off that Monday, which that Monday we had a follow-up appointment, which the doctor was saying everything was good. And I knew, but she wanted to see her the next day, which was a Tuesday, which I was going to go back to work. But the only appointment slot that they had, I had to call out of work completely. And so I was calling Monday on my day off to tell the managers that I wouldn't be there the next day so they can properly place the people at the windows or whatever. And then like my manager was trying to like be nasty or come at me and was like, well, why aren't you here today? And I'm like, Miss Girl, I'm off today. Well, that schedule doesn't say that. And I was like, look again, because the schedule does say that. And I'm trying to let you know I'm not going to be there and I need to call out. Like, I'm not calling out because I'm trying to go to the beach. I'm not calling out because whatever, I have a doctor and I'll provide you a doctor for just very nasty or whatever. And I was just like, okay, warfare. So I was just like, girl, go ahead and be blessed. So I remember I didn't come that Tuesday. Then I get back to work and they're pulling me into the office and they're like, well, why weren't you here and all this stuff? Asking me things that they really shouldn't ask me about, because as long as I have a doctor's note, as long as I have an excusable absence, as long as I have the time, you don't need to be in my business. So again, couldn't buck on them, and I'm just like, yeah, well, I'm here. Mind you, the people that, we're not gonna even get there. We're not gonna go there. Stick to this testimony. It's coming. I'm sorry. So I was like, all right, the kids get well. I'm like, they're back in daycare. I'm back on my work routine. Boom, 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 getting ready on this trip, Lord. Like, it's gonna be fine, right? So then I was like, well, Lord, I don't have my plane ticket. I don't have my plane ticket. I don't have my hotel fare or whatever. So, the Holy Spirit said, ask again. I said, who? They said, ask again. So I was like, all right. So I called my dad and I was like, Daddy, like, you said that you were gonna do my ticket. Like, he was like, you still want to go to that junk or whatever? I was like, yeah, it's really important to me. He was just like, just send me the details, whatever. And I was like, oh. So I sent him the details, and then so I get my ticket, I get my place, my ticket and my hotel, straight, whatever. So I'm just like, God, I was like, you are good. I was like, because my dad, when he be like, it'd be a smooth no. Like, there's no changing his mind. So, but God. So I was like, all right, thank you. Like, thank you, Daddy. I was like, thank you for sewing into me. You won't be disappointed. Boom, boom, boom. Like, thank you, right? But he was like, I still have my reservations. You're pregnant. You'll be there by alone. I said, it's all right. God got me. Like, you don't even worry. Like, I may look like I'm alone, but I'm surrounded. Like, I got bodyguards. Like, I don't have no fear. Like, people can try to touch me if they want to. They'll drop dead. Like, no. And I don't even have to break a nail. So I was good. I was happy. So I was like, all right. So by the time I go, my check will be there. So I have money to get the Uber, something to eat, and just, whatever to move around. So then, like, I'm putting my time in and they're giving me stuff about my time or whatever. And I'm just like, yeah, but I do have the time. So check again, because I know I'm right. They checked again and I was right. So I was like, boom. So I'm like, all right. So I'm like, all right, my check usually projects like 2 days before, 3 days before, like whatever. And in the midst of all the chaos, I miscalculated my check. And actually today, May 1st, is when I would have actually been getting paid. And I was so defeated. Because I was just like, wow, I'm really like not gonna be able to have any money. I'm gonna be there, but I'm gonna be like no money. I was like, so God, are we doing like a belief thing where I'm gonna get money in my hand daily just for me to get eat? Or like, am I gonna have to beg from like people while I'm there? Like beg like family, like people where I'm there, like, hey, can you like loan me like $100 so I'm able to, I'll pay you back or whatever. And then two, it was not even just like while I'm there, but it's like I needed some things to get before I went there. Like, the weather's changing. I'm busting out. I'm not trying to bust out. All I had was like winter clothes, leggings, and stuff like that. And they said it was gonna be like 86, 87 degrees in Texas. And I'm like, I've never experienced Texas heat and I'm pregnant. And so I was like, I need to get some outfits or whatever or something. So I'm just like, all right, well, I'm gonna just make do with what I have. And what I have was not really much because a lot of my stuff is in storage. And so I'm like blown or whatever, and I'm feeling discouraged because I didn't want to feel, and this is when unworthiness comes in. And I remember, I don't know who you are. Who is that? Oh, it's a telemarketer. I rebuke you. Anyway, so I remember I didn't want to feel out of place in the room. I didn't want to feel inadequate. And this is when that demonic spirit of insecurity, of feeling unworthy was starting to take over, because I was like, when I walk in the room, I'm like, oh my gosh, they know. They know I'm not supposed to be here. Like, they know that everything that was going on, they know that what has happened in the 2 years, like, I didn't want to, I didn't want to feel ashamed. I didn't want to feel out of place. I wanted to blend in. So I was like, if I could just have the proper clothing to just kind of blend in with everybody else at this conference, just to get me in the room, just to get me in the door, I'll be okay, because I made it this far. And then to me being pregnant, it already brings attention. So I was like, okay, God, please allow me to put certain pieces together to where I don't look like what I'm currently going through. So I remember sitting in my car. It was a couple days before, and I realized that my check wouldn't come until maybe a Friday or Saturday, if it came at all, and sometimes it might not just come until Monday, which would have been today. So I was like, all right, that's fine. I'm just putting my faith in you. And then he told me to check my account. And I was like, Lord, I've been checking my account all day. Like, it's not here. He said, check again. And there was $400 deposited in my account. And I said, oh my gosh. I had to tell God, thank you. I had to tell who I suspected, put it in there, thank you. And I was like, all right, let's go to work. So, mind you, this was all the day before I had to leave. So this was on a Wednesday, like last minute. And I remember I was so tired. And the thing I also didn't tell you is that I had been dealing with this pain for like 3 weeks of this nerve being on the back side of on my back, to where sometimes if she is sitting somewhere and even when she's not, the nerve still hurts, my leg will go numb. So I literally have to drag my leg. I even have a handicap placard. That's how bad it's been. Because if it's not the nerve on the back, it was the pain in my cervix that would feel like she's about to drop out of my personals. So with having all 3 of the kids and getting them to where they need to go and dealing with that, it was very difficult. And so, like, as I'm trying to run to all these clothes to make sure, these stores to make sure I have the proper stuff, because I didn't want TSA to try to get me, and I didn't know where I was staying was gonna have like a CVS or whatever. Like, Texas is not like it's just a Walmart right around the corner, or, you know, anything like that. And then how would I get there, because I'm not gonna have my own driving thing or whatever. So I went to Ross, I went to Target, threw all the kids in the car after daycare, which was 5, and I had worked a full day. So I got off at 5, pick up the kids, we're going to Target, we went to Target, and then I had to get them some, pull-ups, because Elijah, we're still potty training him. It's a whole experience. And, you know, especially we have to have a certain number of pull-ups for daycare, wipes, I'm having to, anything I can think of. And so I'm at Target, I'm at Ross, and I'm like finding a couple things, trying to try on things while the kids are trying to, you know, they're already tired, whatever. Then get them something to eat, having to get them McDonald's, which I hate. And then just making sure everything and they have. And I just remember, like, at one point, like, I was dragging and I was so tired. And it was like, just the pain just kept increasing. And it's not something that you can, like, take Tylenol for. It's just like, it was just this pain. So I was like, but it's all right, because my thing is, like, you gotta push through it. Like, we're gonna thug it out. That's my mindset. Like, we gonna thug it out. I'm like, God's taking me this far or whatever. He gonna fix this too. Like, if this is the thorn that is in my side, like, we gonna thug it out. So I remember I got home. I didn't even get all the bags out the car. Like, I'm walking really slow. I'm carrying Sebastian. I'm carrying them. They've already eaten. So I was like, all right, I got to get them to bed first before I can do anything. Mind you, me trying to get them to bed, I'm trying to make sure that I don't fall asleep with them, because my flight, I need to be there at 4 a.m. My flight didn't leave until 6 a.m., but I still had to get an Uber. I still had to pack. And, you know, again, I hadn't traveled in like 15 years. So 10 to 15 years or something like that. So I'm just like, all right. So I get them to sleep, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like, I wear wigs, and this is just a side note. I wear wigs, but at the same time, like, my hair is really thick up under these wigs, and I halfway know how to braid. And so I was like, dang, I gotta braid my hair too and all that stuff. And then another thing is, I needed a fill. Like, I did not have a fill for like a month. And every time I would go to fill, I had to put that money to like diapers or put that money to something else. So literally my nails were like hanging on by a thread, and they looked a mess. And then the thing is, I was still getting compliments on them. And I was like, why? I was like, these are horrendous. And they were like, your nails are so cute. Like, I love the design or whatever. And I was like, do you see this white space over here that needs to get filled? I'm like, okay, but thank you. So I'm like, all right. I was like, Lord, like, I need you to get these nails done too. So like, even at Target, I brought these press-ons. So I was like, all right, bet. So what I can do is I can clip off the nails off and get all whatever. So I had like 5 nails. No, 5. 4 nails that would not budge. Like, I cut them down, but so they look like banshee nails. And I was like, all right, Lord, like, I don't know, but we're just gonna get whatever. So I remember being tired and all that stuff. I finally get them to go to sleep. And then like the day before, I had told Kinsey that I was leaving or whatever, and that she was gonna stay with grandma while I left. And, you know, she went into this whole thing like, why are you leaving me? Like, don't leave. Like, why can I come with you and all that stuff? And it's just like, as a mom, like, you don't want to hear that. Like, I'm doing this for us so we can have a better situation. But if I could take you, if I could afford to take you, like, I would have taken all my children with me. So that was a thing. But again, I had to get very stoic. I guess that's the right word for it. I had to get very stoic, and I was just like, it's gonna be okay. I said, you know, when mommy gets back, I'm gonna take you for ice cream, and we're gonna have so much fun. So I was like, I just need you to be a big girl, and you help grandma with your brothers. And I don't even like crying. I don't usually cry, so I just blame it on the pregnancy, because I hate crying. So she was like, okay, mommy. She's like, I'll be a big girl. I said, okay. So that was the day before. She tried to stay up the night that I was leaving. or whatever to, catch her. I was like, no, you have to go to sleep. I said, or you won't get ice cream, so I hurry up and come back. So I was like, okay. I don't know why the Lord is telling me all this, because I plan to just bypass all this and go to the conference. But we're here now. We're here. So I told my mom bye. And, everybody was having their concerns, but it's like I had to be firm in my faith and act like I was like, it's going to be okay. I was like, it's fine. Like, they were like, well, you're pregnant. I was like, yeah, I remember. I think I know I'm pregnant. You're traveling by yourself. They're taking women. I was like, they can't touch me. I said, anybody that tries to touch me, will probably drop dead, because God don't play about me. I said, I'm protected. I was like, God is a good, good husband. God is a good, good father. I said, He knows the beginning and the end. I said, all right. So I get this Uber, and I get to the airport, and I remember I get on the plane, and the first trip, it goes to DC. Oh, I get TSA. TSA goes smoothly. I was just praying, like, I didn't have any issues with that. I got it through there, and I looked a hot mess too getting there, and I might look a hot mess too from all this crying. I hope my lashes don't fall off, but give me grace, So we get on the first plane, and it's a small plane, and all my stuff is carry-on, and so then we get to DC, and DC airport, it was so ghetto. And it's not ghetto like it was nasty or whatever, but it was like, I get off at this one gate, and I literally have to go 20 minutes just to get to this other gate, and people are like, zoom, 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 and that's fine. But like all the escalators and stuff were like so long and so slow. Like I had to get on 6 just to get to my gate. Then we had to get on this trolley that like zoomed you. It was just a lot, and it was strenuous. But I didn't say anything. Like I just, and I was huffing and puffing and whatever, and I was in pain. Because again, whatever. But I was like, God, you got me. God, you got me. And like the whole time he's telling me, he was like, Brooke, you're not going to miss it. He was like, slow down. It's going to be okay. And like literally like this whole trip, like I've heard God audibly. He's like, it's going to be okay. He's like, slow down. Like very sternly, like a father. And I was like, okay. He was like, you're going to make it. I was like, all right. So I wound up making my plane. So this plane is coming from DC straight to Houston, Texas. And like, so even getting on the plane, like nerves and fear tried to attack me, but I had to pray against it. I remember I cried when I left Virginia, DC, because I was like, wow, I'm leaving my babies. But I was like, it's going to be okay or whatever. So I got emotional about that, but again, thug it out. So on this plane ride, I was a little bit better. I was like, okay. So then I was so like okay to where it's like I snoozed. Took a little snooze or whatever. Then all of a sudden it was like turbulence, like, and it was just, that's how it like got me. And they were like, oh, we're like turbulent or whatever, just brace yourselves or whatever. And it wasn't like the little thing. It was like literally like we're moving from side to side. My butt is going up and down in the seat. Why am I looking out? The plane is flapping. This is on United. Plane is flapping and all this stuff. And I'm like we was about to crash. I was like, no, because I was like, I started praying. And I'm squinching the sleep, and I'm like, Jesus, 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 Jesus. And I started praying. I was like, all right. I was like, you better send Michael. You better send who is Gabriel? They better fly this plane. I was like, you better send them to guide this plane. I said, whatever's going on. And then I'm looking at the see, my lashes are coming off. Okay, so the lashes are coming off because I cried them off, and this wasn't the best scoop. Don't judge me. But anyway, I was like, because I was like, you better send everybody to come get this plane, because I was like, I'm not dying in this air. That's how bad it was. I'm not being dramatic. I'm like, whatever. And I was like, where are we flying over? I was like, where is the principality so thick that we are having all this turbulence? And it wasn't like weather related. It was just so weird. And I was like, what is going on? So on the on the screen in front of you, you could see like where the plane is, like your location or whatever. We was over Atlanta, Georgia. I was like, that makes sense. And the thing is, my prayer from Virginia the whole time, and even on the whole way back, was God, because the thing is, every time we're crossing into new territories, every time we're going into new spaces, even within the same state, in the same city, or even crossing state lines, you are going through portals, you are going through gateways. And at those gateways, you have the demonic realm and you have angelic realms. So you have demonic principalities that are at the gate. If you serve the devil, they're welcoming you. They're not bothering you. If you are a blood-bought believer coming to do damage to the kingdom of darkness, they are going to try to take you out. So my prayer was that God blind the enemy, blind every demonic gatekeeper as I cross all these state lines. I was just praying my way through the gates, praying my way through the gates. So when I had the most issues going through Georgia, I already knew that was a very dark principality. So I was like, God, I was like, you better send everybody. I said, you blind the enemy to where they don't even see me coming. I said that I blend in with everybody else. I was like, keep me safe travel, blind me, whatever. So as soon as I'm like going into warfare, whatever, whatever, it stopped. I was like, whew. I was like, thank you. So I land there and get to my hotel. I get my Uber, get to my hotel. I get something to eat. I experience the conference, which I'll probably make another video talking about the conference, with better glue for my eyelashes. The conference was amazing. I had no issues. The whole time I was there, I had no issues. I walked the street of Houston by myself. I had no issues. I got into Ubers, out of Ubers, went to different hotels, went to get something to eat, was in the hotel by myself, traveled by myself, fully blown pregnant, all hours through the night. I had no issues. Why? Because when you know who you are in Christ, when you pray, don't ever second guess prayer. When you pray and you know that no weapon formed against you shall prosper, when you know your heritage, when you plead Psalm 91 over your life, demons do not have the authority, the gall, or even the stupidity to touch your life because of the hedge of protection that is on your life. The Bible says that the angels of the Lord encompass around me. So even though you may see me, I'm surrounded by bodyguards because I sit in the office of a daughter. So, had no issues, had a beautiful experience. For the most part, everybody was nice. I wouldn't say people weren't nice. It's sometimes you say hi, they don't say hi back or whatever. It was fine. Like, I had a beautiful experience. I had nothing but peace. Peace was just surrounding me. Like, I just had nothing but peace. Like, it was fine. It was fun. It was uplifting. It was encouraging. It was just amazing. So even as I'm getting ready to go back, I'm getting onto the plane, and this plane was leaving Houston going straight to Richmond, right? So the thing is, when I first left, when I was on that plane from DC to Texas, I was the one that saw that we were over Georgia and Atlanta, Georgia. And I was telling some of the girls that were with me, I was like, yeah, about my experience. And I'm like, what's going on in Georgia? Like, Georgia is crazy. Like, that just the kingdom of darkness is just like having a field day there. And, whatever. And she was like, oh my gosh. She was like, I experienced that too. Like, it was just a lot of whatever. And it wasn't like the winds and stuff were like bad. It was just like, just the turbulence or whatever. Is it still recording? Yeah. So I was like, yeah. So as soon as I get on the plane, like we're all on the plane or whatever, the pilot was like, hey, you guys, like, thank you for getting on the plane, whatever. Like, we'll probably have a good, smooth hour in, but expect a lot of turbulence over Atlanta, Georgia, because we've been having some issues, but a lot of turbulence where it could get really bumpy, but I'll do my best or whatever. And so just, enjoy the trip. Just expect a lot of turbulence. I was like, no. I said, I rebuke that in the name of Jesus. I said, and I counter that with, we will have a smooth and safe travel the whole 2 hours and 30 minutes to get to Richmond, that there will be no turbulence, there will be no bumps, there will be no humps. And I'm praying all the angels of the Lord help guide this plane and be with the pilot, that I won't, if I even fall asleep, that I will be not awakened from my sleep. I was like, we will have no issues. I said every cloud, every storm, every rain cloud, everything, I pray that it dissipates in the name of Jesus. And I spoke like, I put my finger up. I said every storm will dissipate as we are flying. We will have clear skies and safe travel. So what we have clear skies and safe travels. There was scheduled a line of thunderstorms, a line of storms that they had scheduled and saw that were going to come through, whatever that did not come, they dissipated. And so when we were landing, he was like, he was like, we were able to make it here in clear skies, and we weren't able to have any type of turbulence, so that was good. And we had no issues or whatever. And then the flight attendant comes like, yeah, we need to thank our captain because he was able to get us here safely. I said, oh, I thank Jesus. I thank Jesus. I said, Jesus got us here safely. I'm like, I ain't thanking no captain. So then, I got here, my dad picked me up, I'm home, I'm making this video, and I hope this is a testimony that encourages you, that faith, just have faith and ask God concerning the matters in your life. Look how everything came through, everything quickly, even though it was a step by step, even though it was holding me by the hand, even though it was like not in a comfortability level that I would prefer. He made all things possible. He answered my prayers. He honored my prayers. And he took care of me the whole time. And they may be snatching women out here, but they won't go snatch me because I'm protected. And if you're a blood block believer too, you're protected too. Know your authority. And if you're not, get to be a blood block believer. It's there for you. It's waiting. Life is ghetto without Jesus. Trust me. Life is ghetto. It's more harder than what it should be without Jesus. Okay? Just trust him. So, yeah. All right. I'm going to go.